In the long history of human warfare, Nazi Germany's series of inventions during World War II are unique and staggering in their existence. Some of these inventions were born out of a desperate quest for battlefield superiority, while others seem to have stepped on the border between science fiction and madness. They were like magic boxes with strange lights in the darkness. Each of them contained great power and endless controversy, not only stirring up the storm clouds of war at that time, but also triggering people's deep thoughts on technological warfare and ethics in later generations. Now let's unravel the mystery of 10 crazy Nazi inventions and discover the amazing and creepy technological chapters of the dusty history. Number 10. Chromla. Chromla is German for bent barrel. It is a special accessory mounted on the barrel of the STG-44 assault rifle. It can change the direction of the bullet by 30, 45, 60, or 90 degrees. The accessory also incorporates a periscope sight that allows the shooter to view the target from around a corner or from inside an armored vehicle. The curved barrel was an innovative and creative solution designed to give tactical advantage to German troops on the battlefield. The principle of operation was simple. The bullet was fired from the rifle barrel and fell into the curved part of the fittings, where centrifugal force changed its trajectory to the right angle, and then it flew out of the fittings towards the target. Ninth, the Pugil Panther, also known as the spherical tank. This is a German armored combat vehicle from World War II. It was considered a one-man reconnaissance vehicle. Kugel Panzer literally means armored shell. Its mobility was provided by two large side wheels embedded in the hull and stabilized by a third, small wheel on the rear cantilever. The vehicle, about 1.5 meters in diameter, weighs 1.8 tons, and its interior is protected by armor 5 millimeters thick. Its internal protection is therefore only nominal against fragments and small caliber bullets. On its front armor, there is a small, horizontal observation slit, and there is no protection for the drive of this peculiar construction. This peculiar configuration was powered by a small, single-cylinder engine of 25 horsepower. Despite its simplicity, the spherical tank was one of the more mysterious vehicles of the Second World War. Very little is known about its exact condition. It was built in Germany and may have fallen into the hands of the Japanese, but at the end of the war, it was captured by Soviet soldiers. Only one vehicle of this type is known to exist and is now in the Tank Museum in Kubinka, Russia. Eighth, the Gustav cannon. This is a German 800mm railroad gun, the largest and most expensive gun in history. The development of the gun was initiated in 1935 at the Krupp factory by Adolf Hitler. Hitler wanted a weapon that could destroy the French Maginot Line fortresses with a single shell. However, construction took a long time, and the gun was not completed until 1942. The size of the gun was impressive. Its caliber was 80 centimeters, and its barrel was 32.5 meters long, mounted on a railroad platform. The entire railroad assembly, including the gun and supporting vehicles, weighed about 1,350 tons, roughly the same as a destroyer-class ship. It had a range of up to 50 kilometers and could fire a 7-ton shell. 250 soldiers were needed to operate the gun directly, while as many as 2,500 men were involved in the operation of the Gustav gun. The Gustav proved to be an extremely effective weapon during the siege of Sevastopol in 1942, when it scored a direct hit on one of the main ammunition depots of the Sevastopol fortress. There are some inaccuracies about the number of guns of this type produced. It was originally planned that at least 2 were to be built, but subsequent guns were never completed, and the names Gustav and Dora have caused some confusion. Some sources treat them as 2 different guns, but other sources indicate that Dora was a specific designation used by Gustav's gun operators. This suggests that only one gun may have been used in combat, despite its theoretical superiority. In practice, its accuracy was very low, so its effectiveness was limited. It could attack a city, but it couldn't accurately hit a specific bunker or building. 7th place, P1000 Giant Rat land cruiser. This was an overweight tank program designed for the Third Reich Armed Forces. Designed by the Kluber factory in 1942, it was approved by Adolf Hitler, but finally abandoned in early 1943. Construction of the prototype was initiated, but never completed. The 1,000-ton P1000 Rat would have weighed more than 5 times as much as the Rat. The Rat was expected to be 35 meters long. The vehicle was originally planned to have two 280mm guns mounted on turrets used on Scharnhorst-class battleships, one of which was completed before the project was finally abandoned and later used on Norwegian coastal batteries. In addition, the tank was planned to be armed with a 128mm gun, 8 20mm flak 38s, and two 15mm machine guns. 3 tracks of 1.2 meters in width were expected to be mounted on both sides of the tank, and the powertrain would consist of two 24-cylinder MAN engines of 8,500 horsepower each to achieve the 16,000 horsepower needed to drive the vehicle. Due to its size and mass, the Giant Mouse is practically impossible to use in combat. 6th place, P1500 Monster land cruiser. This was a German self-propelled artillery program during World War II and was the largest self-propelled gun designed by the Third Reich. The P1500 Monster was a self-propelled version of the Gustav railgun. The program was launched in 1942. The Monster surpassed the Giant Rat in every way. Its crew of 100 weighed 1,500 tons and was 42 meters long. It was armed with an 800mm gun delivered directly from the Kluber factory. It could fire a 7-ton shell to a distance of 50 kilometers. It will be powered by 4 diesel engines, previously used to power the U-boats, and is planned to be equipped with 4 powerful braces to cushion the recoil. Its armor thickness is expected to fluctuate between 220mm and 360mm on the most important parts. The biggest problem is the pressure it puts on the ground because such a large machine can easily sink into the ground. This problem was eventually solved by designing tracks slightly smaller than the width of the chassis. But the gun didn't make it out of the design stage, due to cost issues and losses at the front. The program was abandoned in 1943, along with the P1000. Unlike the P1000 Rat, which was modeled with a turret, the P1500 Monster was never attempted. Because it was so large, slow, and vulnerable to air attack and mines, its purpose was unclear. 5th place, Sonnengewehr translates to sun cannon. Simply put, it's a huge mirror in orbit with an area of 9 square kilometers. It collects the sun's rays and directs them in a direction chosen by the Nazis. It was thought to be capable of destroying entire cities. The first work on it was done by Hermann Oberth in 1923. The inventor was convinced that it was feasible to build a solar cannon. The project was expected to cost $3 billion. A single beam of light could destroy more than 5,000 square meters of ground and even boil the ocean. The sun cannon would orbit the Earth like a mirrored space station. Nazi scientists estimated that this idea could be realized within 50 years. It was, of course, completely unrealistic. However, in 1945, the American press claimed that US Army experts had found evidence in Germany that the Nazis had considered building drawings for a sun cannon at the Schiller-Slaben Center. 4th place, V3 artillery. This was one of 3 retaliatory weapons designed by Germany during World War II. It was similar in design to the V1 missile and the V2 rocket. But unlike them, the V3 was not a guided missile, but an artillery piece. It gave velocity to the projectile by sequentially detonating explosives inside the barrel. Small rocket motors are arranged in pairs along the barrel. Because of this unique design, the V3 received the code name Stenoga. What was the purpose of such a peculiar construction? In this way, they hoped to achieve extremely high acceleration and thus give the gun a range of over 150 kilometers. The final length of the gun was 120 meters, which was shorter than the original design, but still the largest gun the Third Reich ever had. Its dimensions even exceeded those of the famous Gustav and Krupp K5 guns. The 140-kilogram projectile was expected to have a muzzle velocity of 1,500 meters per second. The gun was built solely for the purpose of destroying London, so there was no need for precision targeting. The first development work on this structure was carried out in Poland. 3 test firers of the 5.3 were constructed at Zalezy on the island of Wolin. The target batteries were located in a large underground complex near Calais, France. The complex consisted of 2 bunkers, each containing 25 150mm caliber guns. These guns were grouped into 5 groups of 5. These guns were never fired on London. After only 3 test installations, the complex was destroyed by Allied air raids. But the project didn't end there. The Germans decided to build a scaled-down version of the V3 and install it near Luxembourg. But it was ineffective. Luxembourg, 43 kilometers away, was hardly affected. Third place, the Holden HO229. This is a German steel and wood flying wing built in 1945, designed by the Horten brothers based on their early prototype from the late 1930s. The HO229 was the world's first airplane to be equipped with 2 jet engines. Amazingly, it was built using stealth technology. This was a major achievement at the time, with a top speed of nearly 1,000 kilometers per hour and a range that was almost double the 1,930 kilometers required. The plane was 7.5 meters long, with a wingspan of 16.8 meters, and could fly at an altitude of 16 kilometers. After the Allied occupation of Germany, several surviving prototypes and models of the Holden HO229 were sent to the United States. In the United States, the technology was carefully studied by American scientists. Many wooden parts were installed on the airplane to reduce its detectability. For these reasons, the Horten brothers plane is sometimes considered the forerunner of the American B-2 Phantom bomber. It's worth noting that the Horten HO229 was one of Germany's miracle weapons, but like most of the Nazis' miracle weapons, it didn't have an impact on the outcome of World War II. Due to its unique shape, the Horten brothers' design corresponded to the UFO theory that was being developed at the time. Second place, DGlocka. DGlocka means the bell in German. In English, it is known as the bell or Nazi bell. This experimental weapon got its name from the fact that it had the appearance of a large, round base with a medium-sized shell and a metallic tip. The base was about 2 meters in diameter and was probably made of lead or some other heavy metal, and the shell was slightly smaller in diameter. It was cylindrical in shape with a hemispherical dome on top, with a radius equal to that of the cylinder. There is a theory that the Nazis began building the device during the development of the miracle weapon, the wonder weapon that allowed Hitler to win the war. There are many descriptions and theories that have emerged about the device. Some of these theorize that it was an anti-gravity drive for flying vehicles. In other descriptions, it was a combat unit capable of independent flight. Others saw it as an unlimited generator of strange energy fields, according to Nazi propaganda at the end of World War II. The clock was supposed to be a Nazi time travel device or a cult weapon based on technology far beyond human production. The most plausible version of the clock is that it was the driving mechanism for the fleet of millipedes. First place, Honybuus. This is a term referring to a disc-shaped vehicle with anti-gravity propulsion designed by German engineers for the Third Reich Air Force during World War II. It was a project of the Miracle Weapon program. These vehicles were said to have been built at the Skoda factories in Prague and the Sudetenland. The Honybuus was originally designed to be a manned vehicle. The drive would be a device based on a high-speed rotating ring operating in a gyroscope-like fashion. The most advanced version was the prototype of the Honybuus 3, which was about 70 meters in diameter and could carry 32 members and reach speeds of Mach 10. Work on the design of a flying disc began in Germany in the 1920s. It was said that the first Honybrator was expected to take off in the summer of 1939, and by the end of the war, the Honybrator III would be able to fly into the stratosphere. Before the end of the war, these vehicles were supposed to be transported by U-boats to a secret base in the new Swabian region of Antarctica. According to some of the wildest theories, the Nazis continued the operation in the Antarctic to send the Honybuus to the moon to build a black sun base on the backside of the moon, in order to rebuild the Third Reich there. The purpose was to rebuild the power of the Third Reich there in order to attack the Earth again.